back to Liam's hometown last year, and it was a time.
It was survived.
We all survived, but we divvied up which,
who did what,
which branch of the family was cooking which meal on which day, and yada yada. And we made dinner the first night, and it was like cold and snowy, and we made like a pork and shiitake congee.
Yeah.
And which, like, it's not that different from risotto, if we're being honest.
It's not.
But
same vibes apply.
Yeah, but again, really simple, really just like knocked the socks off of everybody. Really savory, really flavorful, like a really like packed a punch. I love the way that mushrooms like take on flavor of whatever they're cooked with, and I had a lot of like fun with it, and then everybody got to also eat it the next morning for breakfast. And who doesn't love congee for breakfast?
I love congee for breakfast.
Yeah, those are the two like most recent things I can think of in terms of impressing people. Ooh, and carbonara.
Yeah.
I think carbonara is a good like impress someone meal because it's really, really easy to fuck up.
That's what I was going to say, is like, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. I think carbonara in itself is sort of this humble dish, right? There isn't, we're not talking like lap of luxury. There's not caviar in it,
Right.
Like, but a bad carbonara fucking sucks.
Oh, it's just like all
broken, and weird and mealy. No, thank you. No,
but like a silky, perfect carbonara.
When you nail it, it's like comfort in a bowl.
I would, if you served me like a beautiful carbonara, I would probably come on to you.
I mean, not
you,
no.
Like, and more of like a universal you kind of way.
Yep.
You're. We're still sisters.
We talk about it's a family vibe. It's
not gonna happen.
Gets weird.
Yeah. There's a boundary there that I'm pretty okay with. But yeah, what are you cooking? What are you cooking to impress people?
So I make a dish that's kind of adjacent to carbonara, like same concept, but it's like it's spring vibes, right? With peas and asparagus and whatnot.
Ooh, yeah.
And I started dating an Aya in the spring, and so that's what sticks out. But specifically and always, no matter the time of year, braised meat, which like I understand, right? You're like, what the fuck? Like, sorry, what?
Like a braised short rib?
That's so like, and here's the thing. Number one, it's like you could go so many ways.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Number two, like a braised short rib, or really any kind of meat, when you get it right, which I'm saying 8 out of 10 times you will. I mean, I can't think of a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those things that when it's done right, it is so fucking good, and it doesn't matter what it is. And the chances that you're going to fuck it up are small.
There's so much time. Like a braise is such a, like, time is like the most important ingredient. And so as long as you don't cut your time too short,
right,
you're going to let all those flavors develop.
Yep.
And it's not like it's going to dry out.
No, exactly.
It's not going to be tough.
It's not going to be tough. You don't have to worry about like, oh, this, I didn't ask this person how they like their steak cooked. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like it's very foolproof, but it can also be impressive, right? I mean, pot roast in itself, which like, that's not what I typically do short ribs, right? But even if you're like, if you were serving it with polenta, it's just it's so versatile. Like you can jazz it up in so many ways. You could get nuts and serve it on top of a risotto. You know what I mean? Like, I like it because it could go a million different ways. I've never served anybody that is a carnivore, like a braised meat, and haven't had them be like, this is so fucking good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just, and I know this is going to be so hard to believe, but I really love to pressurize these moments, and I can be rather hard on myself. And so, who knew? But I'm not, like, that's one of the few things, like, I'm not fucking that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
It's like one of those, like it tastes really impressive. It is like a labor of love because it's time intensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also kind of a like it's almost like a cheat code
Yeah, for
to
sure.
being an impressive meal.
Yeah, for sure. And I have like no problem. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking about too, it gives me the opportunity if I can put something like that in the oven or even in the pressure cooker
Mm-hmm.
and let it do its thing, I can make, you know, like an app. I could do a side. I can do a dessert, which is also impressive in itself, right?
Right.
So you have
or
courses.
you could like take the stress off and go like take a shower.
Yeah,
and like
because it's in the oven.
Yeah,
like it's not going anywhere.
Right, exactly. Like it's a really, I feel like a braise is a really good, like impress, like I'm cooking you a meal, like impress you.
Well, the
kind of
irony,
like date food, and it's also a good like dinner party food, which again is like impress people.
I mean, the irony of the fucking short rib story is that, like, for sure, I mean, I absolutely made like coconut milk braised short ribs for a chef and like wanted to impress them so badly and spent way too much money on short ribs and didn't love how they turned out texturally. So I absolutely went back to the store and redid them because
Okay, well,
I'm annoying.
That's absolutely ridiculous, but
yeah, yeah. I'm going braised meat. That's usually my. I think that it's all because again, it gives me opportunity to then make like a salad. You can watch my knife skills, right? I can still be interactive. I can still cook for you in a way,
right?
But I'm not just hovering over the stove or like have a bunch of pans going. Braised meats all day.
Braised meats all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the episode. No,
all right. Thanks for coming. See you later. Bye. So if someone was going to cook for you and like wanted to impress you, what right now would you hope that they would cook for you?
Praised meats. I'm just kidding.
Risotto.
That is. So my partner will cook.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't experience the same joy that you and I, or even you and your partner, right? And so he's cooked for me like a full meal one time, and it doesn't. And I don't say that in like a shitty way because he knows that it brings me like we all have our grooves, right?
Yeah,
he has shit that like really lights him up that I'm like. You can have that all day long because that is of no interest to me whatsoever.
Right.
But I go back to the idea of like somebody like feeding you. And also there's like so much intimacy behind that outside of like the meal in itself of like, the planning or like how did you land on like what you wanted to make for me and then like the acquiring of the ingredients, you know what I mean? Like I don't give a fuck. I really don't care what you serve me. It's like such the intention behind that I'm like you could that's what he made me. It was like steak and like mashed potatoes and a veg, you know what I mean? And it was good because I didn't make it. And I also know that that's not something that like brings him a ton of joy.
Right.
What would I be impressed by right now though? If I was like, damn. I am impressed by oyster shucking.
Yeah.
I think it's really hot to watch. It's like adjacent to knife skills, right?
Yeah.
And also like I'm not good at it. Like, can I do it if I need to? Sure. And also like nobody wants to watch that. Like there's nothing like sexy about it. It's like clumsy and like try to not get a shitload of shell and not have it be crunchy. But I think that would be really cool. I also think that seafood kind of in general is one of those things heart adjacent from braised meat is like very easy to fuck up.
Yes.
And like a really well done seared scallop is so my vibe. Yes. I love scallops so much.
Oh my my God.
That's what I would be impressed by, right? In this moment right now, is if somebody was to make me like some kind of seared scallop situation.
I just got so excited to go home. Home.
Oh, I was like, in a year? No, but you're going in December.
I'm going in December, and I'm just thinking about all of the seafood.
Because your partner doesn't really love shellfish.
No, he's not really like, I mean, he likes sushi, and that's kind of like the extent of his fish liking exploration. He like didn't have a lot of fish growing up. And I think like when I cook fish for Liam, or like if we're at my parents' house and my dad is cooking fish, he's like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
But I initially, like, he doesn't get really like thrilled about like
a seared scallop.
Wherein like for me, I'm like, oh my God, that's literally like, that's the best. That's my favorite.
Oh, well, big same. Like out of all of the, I love seafood. I actually prefer shellfish to like a fillet of fish. But man, there is nothing like a well seared scallop, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
What are you getting impressed by? What's somebody making you that you're like, damn?
Scallops. Honestly, if somebody made me like a really good linguine with clams.
I told you I've been craving that lately.
And my like, again, I'm just thinking about going home and letting my dad cook for me. And he's not trying to impress me, like, no. But he's trying to impress himself. And I am totally happy to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that.
And he makes...
Be competitive with yourself all day long.
His linguine with clams fucking slaps. And it also, like, really tastes like home to me.
Is he using canned clams?
He uses both. You
have to.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That people, like, want to do this, like, you know, fancy dance. I'm like, nobody... It is not the fucking same. You have to use canned or jarred clams.
Yeah.
And then you like do a garn with like a handful of
fresh
little neck clams.
Yeah.
I'm like,
absolutely.
Stop.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of like ways like food, because food is such a factor in mine and Liam's like partnership.
Right.
It's like very important to us. We do a lot of like hosting. We really like to cook for each other. The first time Liam made me dinner.
We all know this story.
Well,
I do.
So the first time Liam made me dinner, it's our third date, and he's like, I'm gonna cook for you. And I'm like, okay. My roommate was out of town, and so we came to my apartment as opposed to his house where there were like 4 other roommates. And so I will preface this with, he had never used my oven before.
And honestly, like,
I didn't have a meat thermometer.
But like even just using somebody else's kitchen, and especially
it's a learning curve.
Well, and it like you don't know where shit is. Like,
totally.
How sharp are their knives? What kind of cutting board do they use?
Yeah. So
there's so many variables.
So I tell this story with like a lot of grace and compassion, because also like, you know, years later the roles reverse, but whatever. So Liam's like, I'm gonna make you this roast chicken with roasted grapes and mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, that sounds great. I'm down for it. He gets to my apartment and he's like, I forgot the Brussels sprouts. And I was like, all right, cool. So I lived like across the street from King Soopers. So we would go to King Soopers, buy Brussels sprouts. The guy checking us out goes, just Brussels sprouts?
Oh my God.
You're like, just shut up. I was like, I don't know. This man is making me dinner.
Quiet.
So we like hang out. He like had brought over a couple bottles of wine. We had music going. He was like putting on the moves, and we sit down to dinner, and it's like a very well plated meal. And I slice into my chicken thigh, and that baby is raw. Like not
just a little under, not like a, am I going to be like a little gaggy later?
No, just raw.
Fuck.
And I am like, like the outsides of it are fine. So I'm just kind of like eating around it. And he cuts into his chicken thigh and is like,